Well, good day everybody, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, which is titled Importing Excel Data into SmartPlant Using Universal Reporter. My name is Andy Osborne. I'm Director Global Business Development for CA Experts, and I'm going to be joined today by Christine Reck and by Siegfried Schott, both are product managers within CA Experts. Okay, so let's just look at the agenda. So we're just going to go through this brief introduction. I'm then going to give a general overview as an introduction to what we're looking at. I'm then going to hand over to both Christine and Ziggy, who are going to go through a live demonstration, firstly with P&ID, exporting SmartPlant P&ID data into Excel, editing that, importing that back, highlighting tracking modifications. We're then going to go on to Ziggy, who is going to show us the 3D equivalent of that, the Smart 3D equivalent of that. Then going to go through a summary. We want to get some feedback from you with the poll questions, and then we want to get any questions that you have answered at the end. So there is a question panel. Please feel free to fill those in as we go along. We'll save those till the end, and then we'll answer all of those if we have time at the end. Okay, so we are recording the session. The session itself will probably be only a 30-minute session in total, so it might be slightly shorter than we normally do. And if you need copies of the presentation or you want to download the video, then just let us know at the end of it, and we'll certainly point you in the right direction for that. Okay. Okay, so from CA Experts' point of view, I always like to start off with just positioning what we do as a company, and we have solutions that cover project management, information visualization, reporting, data quality assurance, piping specs, and model migrations. Clearly, though, today what we're focusing on is Universal Reporter and how that works with Excel and the Smart 3D and Smart P&ID, SmartPlant P&ID environments. Now you can see this graphic here really explains that we have a number of adapters that allows us to read information into our Universal Reporter and then generate Excel reports. What is not always clear is that if we're thinking about the native application, SmartPlant P&ID, SmartPlant 3D, SmartPlant Materials, or anything else, that native application usually stores data in multiple tables. And so really you need to have good knowledge of that data structure to be able to pull together reports to contain the information that you want to see. When we use the report adapters that I showed you in the previous slide, the first thing that does is it simplifies the data structure into a single table, which makes it a lot easier to see the information that you want to see and to generate ad hoc reports. And there's some very neat features within Universal Reporter that does make it very easy. So coming back to that graphic where we're looking at the P&ID, 3D, and all of the other applications that can feed Universal Reporter, these are all one-way arrows at the moment, but clearly what we have is the ability to write back information to those native applications. Now, although we can generate an Excel spreadsheet directly from Universal Reporter, and of course we can edit that, that doesn't mean that we can't take any old Excel datasheet that you've been working on independently and then use that as a source for updating the native application. The only thing that we will need to do is map the columns in that Excel file to the attributes that we want to update. And again, we're going to be demonstrating that in the live session. So the focus for today is really on the P&ID and the 3D applications for SmartPlant. And I think I've pretty well covered the outline of that. So what we're now going to do is go on to a live demonstration. And for the first part of it, what I'm going to do is ask Christine to take us through what we do here. So Christine, you should be presenter now.
Okay, I'm showing my screen. So welcome everybody also from my side. You can see here data in Universal Reporter, which comes from SmartPlant P&ID. It was extracted using the P&ID report adapter. And in this data set, you can see drawing information, equipment information, pipe run information. And from all these tables, it is possible to export data and also change the values and import them back in. But it is also possible to directly modify data, let's say here in this interface, change something, and then you would see the changes marked in a blue color. And Universal Reporter also has a feature which would allow you to reset the changes that you have done, eventually even the complete column or table. So what I'm going to show now is how a report can be exported. I will modify some values in the report, and then I'm going to import it back into this interface and write it back to SmartPlant P&ID. So I am starting with the export. There is a generic export to Excel function, which is working on any of these tables, and it can be used with template files, eventually even adding the code lists which come from SmartPlant P&ID. So I'm going to create this report. And in this report, I'm going to change some values for pressure and temperature. So this is the Excel report. As you can see here, for instance, there is a pipe run which crosses drawings. And I'm going to modify the second row here to another value. And just that we know what we are working on, I'm also going to highlight this. And then I'm also modifying another row in this report, just changing pressure and temperature values. And I'm saving it. And I'm closing the Excel file. And now I'm starting the generic import from Excel function. Generic in the sense that it can take also an external report. I'm choosing my report. And in the next step, Universal Reporter will recognize the table where I want to import to. I also have the possibility here to open the file once more and have a look inside, but I can also say that I just want to use this file to import. And now I need to specify which is the key column or a combination of key columns, and which columns do I want to update. So I will just take the item tag as the key, and I will choose to update design max pressure and design max temperature. I can save this as a configuration. This will be shown by my colleague later. So I'm just going to make an import. And the import now will recognize that there are some values which are duplicate in the Excel file, and it will ask me how do I want to handle it. Do I want the last Excel row for the same tag to overwrite all the records, which means updating the complete pipe run, or do I want to ignore the duplicates and just take the unique records? So I'm going to choose the first option. And as you can see, although I changed only the second Excel row, it has changed both in here. And Universal Reporter will show you the changed value in the blue color. It will show you the old value automatically in an extra column. And as mentioned before, also here you could use the reset commands if you want to make another import or if you decide to not write the data to SmartPlant P&ID. So I'm going first, before writing, I want to check which graphic will be changed. So what I can do here is right mouse click and use a highlight function. The highlight function will open the drawings in Smart Sketch and will show that these pipe runs are going to be modified if I write the data back to SmartPlant P&ID. So next step, click on Write Changes to SmartPlant P&ID. Say OK. When this is done, you can see a column which tells us if the modification was successful. And eventually, you could even activate a history where it's possible to see which user has changed which field at what date for what column and so on. So here the changes are logged into a history file. What we are going to do now is have a look in Drawing Manager and use the yellow triangles. So first of all, we are going to look at the actual status and just view the file. And I'm going to go closer down here where you can see the 80 degrees and so on. And in a second step, I'm going to update the drawing so that the API modification will also be placed in the graphical labels. This is a function that is used by many P&ID users on a regular basis. And if we have another look, we can see that the values were also changed on the labels, and the change is coming from Universal Reporter. So thank you. This was the part that I was going to show, and now I will hand over to my colleague.
Okay, thanks, Christine. I'll just switch Ziggy to be presenter. Okay, Ziggy, so it's over to you to take us through the 3D side of things.
Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm just going to show how we change the description of multiple equipments just by importing the data from an Excel sheet. So here I have a Smart 3D model, and if I go to those heat exchangers, display the properties, you will see they don't have any equipment descriptions, although that tube crackers do not have an equipment descriptions. So I've prepared an Excel report, and it's just a simple equipment list. And in this equipment list, for some of the equipments, the one I showed just, I have inserted a description, and now I'm going to show you how I can import those values to the 3D model. I open Universal Reporter. I've already prepared an equipment report for this model. For the attributes, I just selected those I need to import the values, and this is the equipment name as the key column and the equipment descriptions, which I will fill with the values from the Excel sheet. So if I scroll down, you see currently they are all empty. So now I go to Tools, Import from Excel. I open my equipment list. And now I click on Next. And now you see there are some unmapped attributes, and those are attributes that have different names inside the report and the Excel sheet. So to tell the system which column from the Excel sheet matches which column from the report, I have that map feature, and just by drag and drop, because I know the name is named equipment in my report and description in my report is named description equipment, so I drag and drop this from here to here, and now the values change from red to black, and now they are correctly mapped. Now I drag the name as the key column because I want that to be the key, and I want to update only the description. The rest of the column should be ignored. I save that configuration and give it the name description, and now I import the values. Okay, now you see for those values, for those equipments that have a value in the Excel sheet, they now got that equipment descriptions, and now I can check in front of importing if it's okay to import those values, or I can just reset single values, or I can even reset all the values, so the complete table, so no changes are done. So as I resetted it, I have to import them again. So again, I go to import from Excel. But now, because I've already stored that configuration, I don't have to do all the mapping and selection again. I can just use that configuration I just created and click on import. So in case you have to do one job at multiple times, just store that configuration and you can reuse it. And by just a simple single click, you can do the same import over and over again. Now here you see we have those values changed. Now I go to the 3D write changes to Smart 3D. This function is using the Intergraph API, so we are not directly accessing the database. We go through the Intergraph API to make sure we do not harm the system. Okay, now the data is going to be imported. Now the system tells me that it was successfully imported. You also see the update status. It's automatically filtered to those elements that have been changed. Okay, now we can go to the 3D model and we have to update the workspace. So the new values are loaded. And if I now go to that heat exchanger, display the attributes, you will see now they have the description loaded. Also that tube cracker does have the description loaded. Okay, one important question that was always asked is what values can I change using this system? And the answer is all values you're able to change interactively can also be changed via Universal Reporter. For example, if we go to the weight and center of gravity section, you will see those center of gravity coordinates. They are grayed out because they are calculated by the system, while the dry weight and wet weight can be changed. And if I go to Universal Reporter and I hide those columns and display the dry coordinates, you see also in Universal Reporter they are grayed out because they cannot be changed, while if I display the dry weight, it's white and therefore this value can be changed. Okay, that's all.
Okay, thanks, Ziggy. I'll bring the
Welcome.
Presentation back to me. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see where we're back to, which is the live demonstration. So I think it's pretty clear what's been going on. But just to summarize what we've been seeing, firstly, you get easy reporting from most applications into an Excel format. You don't need any specialist reporting knowledge, and there's no need to understand the data structures of the native applications. What you do need is knowledge of Excel, and that in itself is pretty well all you need in terms of report formats, report outputs, and then editing. So you have the ability to import data from Excel into native applications, and what we've shown today is SmartPlant P&ID and Smart 3D. There are some other features around Excel which are pretty powerful as well, but we've chosen not to show them on this particular webinar. The input sheets, as we've seen, can either be generated from Universal Reporter in the first place, so we're taking the data out, we're then modifying that and then writing that back, or we could have, say, a line list that we've been working on totally independently. We can bring that information in. All we need to do then is map the columns, which is a simple drag and drop exercise. As we've also seen in both the P&ID and the 3D, that where the modifications are going to be made, these are highlighted in Universal Reporter prior to committing those changes, and you always have the option to discard those changes if you're not happy with them. And finally, which is what Ziggy was alluding to a little bit, is that access rights can be controlled. So again, not only are there attributes which are maybe locked within the system, which Universal Reporter will replicate that, that view. But also we can restrict the modification through Universal Reporter to a handful of people that are authorized to do it. And we could even lock it down to individual attributes that they're allowed to change. So again, there's a lot of control that you can implement with this. It's not just a free-for-all, everybody can come in and change and overwrite things. So if you're worried about that, then hopefully that addresses that. And then finally, on the P&ID side, there's this history of modifications available that Christine brought up in the dialogue, showing you all the attributes that were changed through Universal Reporter, what the changes were, and when they were done, and who did them.